This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1824, Previews. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Ian Levinstein.
And I'm Adam Murdo. And these lead-ins are much less interesting visually without Sir Chris Eberly and his magic dancing Migos.
Exactly, and I forgot to grab a prop, so instead, it's just the two of us tonight. We can make it if we try, as we go over the month's previews catalog. As Shane is recovering, actually. Shane had some minor health issues that he's dealing with himself. And Chris is doing his own type of recovering, as was mentioned in passing on the last episode. He's still got some cleanup to do from the tropical storm. So it's just Murd and I for tonight's previews.
We have lost comrades to both flood and plague this week, but we will soldier on in their honor and their name.
Most definitely the case. Yep. And while we might just be two of us, there's a lot more of you out there in CGS land who support us. And we're talking about you, pew, 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 over at patreon.com/Comic Geek Speak. Every single month, you folks are kind enough to give us your dollar, whether it is $1 or whether it's more than that, to continue to keep the lights on the interwebs and in person for us fine geeks. And we thank you so much for your continued support of the show in that fashion. All 118 of you at the moment are our favorite people, and we couldn't do it without you. Patreon.com/Comic Geek Speak.
Many thanks, friends. And at some point in the next couple of months, somebody might actually be present in that studio you're helping us to pay for.
Yes, indeed. Yep. If everything stays working like I tried to get it working, then maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to make it work. And, you know, we shall see. Future forthcoming, and hopefully we'll at least be able to get at least a couple of gathering episodes happening in that where, you know, it's more than just one person. But
for sure.
We shall see. The summer is ahead of us, my friend, and we'll see how that goes. And oh wait, before that, the winter. Oh yeah, and the fall.
The other one, the cold one, the one with the White Walkers.
Exactly the case. Yep. Also a note for anybody who can't actually put the money down to support the show. Another way to support the show is to review us on iTunes or any of those other places that you may be listening to the show. Or spread the word, because, you know, the word is indeed the word, and it keeps more people coming to the show in one way or another. So whatever you can do to help, we're more than happy that you are helping. Alrighty. Previews, and I'll go ahead and get our visual aid up for those of you watching over at youtube.com/Comic Geek Speak.
Plug. And we're talking about catalog number 396 this time, September of 2021, dealing with comics and other products coming to stores mostly in November.
Yep, and we see a brand new book from Image Comics right here on the cover, A Thing Called Truth. And then the secondary cover, Joy Operations, by the one and only Brian Michael Bendis. We'll get to those in due time. For the first time in a while, not an advertisement for Free Comic Book Day, because that actually happened.
Right. And once again, I did not actually attend one, but DCB Service got me the 5 free issues that I asked for.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I did not attend one either. I did download a couple of the Free Comic Book Day issues that were released digitally, and I do intend on reading them eventually. But my list is long as usual, and you know, I'll get to them when I can get to them.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
All right, let's start off with Image as usual on page 34. And my oh my, yes, it is, my friend. Yes, it is. Newburn. It's spelled Newburn. Zdarsky, baby, Zdarsky.
With a little help from Nadia Shamas.
Indeed. And artwork by Jacob Phillips and Zayed Yusuf Ayub. I very much hope I didn't butcher that, and apologies if I did, but I'm trying my best here. Easton Newburn is a private detective without loyalties, investigating conflicts between rival crime factions while collecting enemies along the way. In this debut issue, they made it exclamation points. I'm going to say it all capital. That's the way it works. A man is murdered after stealing from his own mafia family, but they aren't the ones who ordered the hit.
Mysterious.
Indeed.
Yeah, well, it's a heck of a creative team, and you gotta love the cover dress, that logo, and the lettering. It looks very much like a 70s hard-boiled detective novel.
Oh, definitely. And I appreciate the backup story titled Brooklyn Zirconia, which is what Nadia Shamas and Zayed are working on as the backup to this. Just looking at the artwork for the main story on the next couple of pages, absolutely captures the style that they're looking for. Kind of a Michael Lark feel to it a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah. Very, very nice looking stuff.
This is one that would have Chris Eberly moaning if he were here with us right now.
We'll just throw out a, ugh!
This is very good. Very good. It's a good approximation.
Thank you. I have experience. I've heard it enough times at this point.
I'll take a stab at it myself later on.
Excellent.
There's at least one other thing that I think would educe a groan from Mr. Chris in this catalog.
Yep. And here is that cover title on page 38, a thing called Truth. Yolanda Zanfardino, and artwork by Alisa Ramboli. A chaotic LGBTQ plus road trip. A workaholic scientist who wants to save the world and a woman who fears nothing but discovering her own identity find themselves mixed up in a chaotic, on-the-road adventure through Europe. Will they manage to find a middle ground between their opposing ways of life, at least for long enough to complete their mission? And could this trip lead to an unexpected romance? Maybe.
I don't think they're teasing it too much.
No.
It's happening, folks. It's
oh yeah,
lettering's on the wall.
Yep. And very kinetic artwork here. I mean, from the premise, it kind of sounds like almost like Thelma and Louise meets The Odd Couple, with an LGBTQ spin and more cars, a lot more cars.
Yeah, and kind of an action movie subplot, because one of them is a scientist on the run. For people who want to, I assume people who want her latest discovery.
Indeed. Yep.
Or people who want her dead because she discovered something about the company she's working for. You know, one of the two.
Very much the case. Digging the coloring as well, not just the artwork. I think the coloring really makes it pop on these preview pages that they provided us with on 39 through 41. How about Jim Mahfood? That's a name I feel like I haven't heard in a while, Murd.
Yeah, I think he's gone back underground in the last few years, but here he is again.
Yep. Page 42. Girl Scouts. Stone Ghost #1 here. Writing and drawing as he's right to do. And this is his existing Girl Scouts universe. And brand new miniseries, 6 issues of Girl Scouts to be found. The Stone Ghost story being told here. And there's also a absolutely stunning variant cover from Peach Momoko, and they ain't kidding. That is a gorgeous alternate cover.
Very nice.
Yep.
Love the title, and I love the tagline. Feel the funk.
Yep. And page 42, and then on the next few pages, you've got your preview pages, and they are stunning Mahfood artwork as always. Man, they're just page by page by page on Image, giving me things to talk about.
Oh yeah, here we have something co-written by a John Leguizamo. Not sure if it's
Mhm.
the John Leguizamo. They're not
Oh,
exactly bragging that it is, but
it is definitely the one because that's certainly his face on the cover.
All right then. Writing himself into this story here with help from co-writers Aram Rappaport and Joe Misiak, and art by Chris Batista. It's kind of a Luke Cage meets Escape from New York meets Plastic Man, I guess, because it's about a wrongfully imprisoned man named Max Gomez who volunteers for a government experiment that gives him freaky shape-changing powers that he is then expected to use to win a street war against superpowered beings in New York. Interesting premise, and it does appear, as Ian says, to be brought to you by the man whom Peter Rios did to play him in the CGS movie that no one will ever make.
It's not the first comic he's ever made either. A couple of years ago, he was actually tabling at New York Comic Con promoting his comic book Freak. So not his first dalliance into the world of comic books, and happy to see that he's trying as many genres as possible here, and now giving us something a little bit more superhero than what he gave us the last time.
Mm-hmm.
That's on page 44, and you've got your preview pages on the next few, and it's Chris Batista. I mean, you're bound to get some good superhero artwork to go with that, and it does not disappoint.
No argument here.
Mm-hmm. And another man that most people on CGS have praised at least at one point or another, Matthew Rosenberg. What's the furthest place from here? Number 1 on page 46. Triple size first issue.
60 pages for $4.99. That's a good deal these days.
That's an excellent deal. There's 24 page comics that go for $4.99. So this is definitely a bang for your buck in more ways than one. Premise sounds pretty interesting. It's a post-apocalyptic coming of age story about all that remains are gangs of children living among the ruins of the world. But Sid believes there must be something more out there. When she disappears into the wastelands, her gang will risk everything to bring her home. Story about the things that matter most: your survival, your loved ones, and your record collection.
That is an interesting value system Rosenberg has set up for his young survivors there.
Indeed.
It's all about the music.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They describe it as the emotional heart of Sweet Tooth crashing into the dystopian chaos of Mad Max. Interesting combo there. Two very, very different type of post-apocalyptic stories combined into one.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Artwork on the next few pages yet again. Very, very nice. Indeed. Yep. All right. Let's see what else we got here from Image. Whole bunch of ongoings. I'm sure that Mr. Eberly would mention Radiant Black number 10 on page 50, if he were here to say so, as it continues to be one of his favorite series. I'm looking forward to finally picking up the trade, hopefully in New York Comic Con, actually. I'm thinking of finally buying it from the Image booth if they are indeed set up. And for those of you who are listening, yes, I am indeed confirmed for all 4 days of New York Comic Con. So this is going to be a thing. If I bail after day 1, you'll know why. But I'm hoping it's not chaos. Let's just put it that way.
Well, unfortunately, I think there's a good chance that chaos will introduce itself to the system because, as I think as our old ally Bob Britall pointed out, it's good that they're going to be thorough about vaccination screening and showing ID and everything, but that's really going to back up the admission process.
Indeed. Yep. Well, I have my professional badge, and I'll get there bright and early, and we'll see how it goes, and hopefully it won't be too much of a backup, but I fully expect there to be too much of a backup.
Well, here's hoping it's more than a one-day event for you, Ian.
Thank you. I think I'm pretty certain I'll be there all 4 days, especially since a couple of friends of the show are going to be there for the first time in quite some time, including Comfort and Adam.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I'll definitely tell them hey, ho, hello from me. I
most definitely shall. They'll be getting in a few days early, and hopefully I'll be able to catch some grub with them before the con itself. And I do also plan on bringing the portable recorder, so there might not be pants on the floor, but I we'll hopefully be getting at least a few interviews to piece together for a New York Comic Con edition of Comic Geek Speak. So stay tuned for that. No promises, because I've said that before and I haven't even turned on the recorder. But we'll see what happens.
Yep, no one's holding you to anything, Ian.
Exactly. Either way, there'll certainly be enough to talk about on the next Comic Talk. After that is, because there'll probably be a Comic Talk before then. Anywho.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Looking at the rest of the image here. Let's settle on page 54, shall we?
Oh, I think we shall.
Indeed. Geiger, 80-page giant number 1.
I am a sucker for an 80-page giant, and I know Jeff Johns is too. And sure enough, he's co-writing this because Geiger is, after all, his concept, along with Gary Frank. And he's brought along some friends, Jay Ferber, Sterling Gates, haven't seen his byline in a while, Peter J. Tomasi, and others. Art by Gary Frank, Brian Hitch, Sean Galloway, Kelly Jones, Peter Snyberg, and others. Yeah, and it is a classic DC Silver Age 80-page giant, right down to the tattered strip of go-go checks along the top of the cover. That's loving that. It's a bunch of stories from the post-apocalyptic world of Geiger, and it's even introducing a character called Redcoat, who has bizarre ties to the American Revolution and the main character of the series as well.
You know, it's funny that this is Image, because, like, in some ways, I mean, I know you describe it as an 80-page giant DC style, which of course it is, but a lot of DC's heavy hitters involved with this over at Image, which makes me wonder if perhaps they may have originally pitched it to DC and it wound up at Image. But I'm just putting words in their mouth, because who the heck knows?
Yeah, it's speculation, but I think it's well-founded speculation, and it's entirely possible.
Yep. Looks very, very cool. And for all 80 pages, you're paying $8. Yeah, I'm really interested in this. Page 54. They don't have any preview artwork for it. However, there is also volume 1 of Geiger, which was Johns and Gary Frank on the very next page, page 55. So if you check out volume 1 and you like it, then the 80-page giant is most definitely for you.
And that volume 1 trade is at the Image sampler price of $9.99.
Exactly, which I'll point out is $2 more than the 80-page giant.
Yep, and that is for 160 pages of story.
Exactly. So you're getting double the amount of story for $2 more. But, what are you going to do?
Lay down my money, I'm afraid, because I've already bought the single issues for everything that's in this trade. So, and I'm just a sucker for 80-page giants, especially ones that follow the classic DC format.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm in for that.
Understood. And I'll also mention in passing, because I'm pretty sure I mentioned the original first issue when it was solicited. Page 56 has the trade paperback for Home, which sounds like a very interesting story about a family separated at the U.S. border. Young Guatemalan immigrant must learn to harness his emerging superhuman abilities while being hunted by the federal government. Julia Anta and Anna Wyshik on page 56 collects the first 5 issues of that for $17, coming out on November 17th. All right, any other trades to call out?
Not on my end.
All right, then I think we're good. Other than mentioning in passing, as I know it has also been praised by Sir Eberly, Stillwater Volume 2, solicited on page 61. So anybody who picked up Volume 1 and enjoyed it, here's your second volume, which collects issues 7 through 12. All right, and over to Dark Horse, shall we?
I'm going to mention again that on page 66, J.H. Williams III's Echolands continues to be gorgeous.
Ah, yes, indeed, actually. Excellent point. And I did enjoy issue 1 quite a bit.
I didn't know it was going to be oriented the way it was, but that only added to the appeal.
Yeah, I know. I didn't quite. I must have missed that in the initial solicitation, to be entirely honest with you. But it just adds to the special nature of the comic.
Yeah,
horizontal layout, not something you see every day.
It gives that artwork a little more room to breathe, horizontally speaking, at least.
Most definitely. Yep. No other singles of note for me outside of, I guess I'll mention in passing as well, Primordial #3 of 6. We mentioned issue 1 on the show, and now we're halfway there with Lemire's very, very different take on the space race. Page 73. All right, and onward to Dark Horse, beginning with some schlub nobody ever heard of on page 84, Brian Michael Bendis.
Flash in a pan, flavor of the month.
He'll never make it. Joy Operations #1 of 5, Bendis and Stephen Byrne. Starting with a story 55 years from now. Joy is an envoy, spelled EN-VOI, special agent of one of the Janando Trust. Trusts are corporate-owned cities that are the centerpiece of modern society. Right away, my brain immediately goes to everything going back to a certain British company with AD in its name. Trusts are corporate-owned cities. As I said, she writes wrong for the trust. She's excellent, perfection, hard on herself, driven, almost legendary in some parts, until one day a voice pops in her head trying to get her to betray everything she has ever believed. Now, I will say a whole bunch of sci-fi movies start off exactly this way. So I'm hoping that there's at least something more to this, but there's certainly gorgeous artwork, I'll tell you that much.
Neat visuals. I like those energy blades she's wielding. Yeah. And those of you who are fans of the series Lazarus, this premise might ring a little bit familiar as well. But, you know, it's science fiction. Tropes exist.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, page 84 for that one. Anyone who's a fan of Bendis or sci-fi dystopias, then this will be for you. And check out that artwork on the very next page, page 85. And there's going to be cursing. They've blacked out cursing.
Yeah, several on just these 2 pages that we see here. So,
well, I'll never forget the first word that came out of Alias's mouth when it first launched on the Max line. So immediately he starts off with an F word just to get things started. So
of course, prime that pump.
Most definitely.
Announce people that the Max imprint has arrived.
Certainly. Alrighty.
Got a new Hellboy miniseries on page 86. It's written by Mignola and Christopher Golden, art by Matt Smith, and it's called Hellboy: The Bones of Giants. So more new Hellboy content here, right on the heels of last month's The Silver Lantern Club.
Yep. Always something new Hellboy related out of Dark Horse, and Mignola does not disappoint.
Oh, look, there's even a one-shot on page 88, Hellboy and the BPRD, 1957, Forgotten Lives.
Yeah.
Yep. Always in the mood for a good period piece there.
Stephen Green on the artwork for that one. The gorgeous cover by Dave Stewart. All right, moving down a little bit more. Mention issue 3 of 6 on page 90, Maze Book, Lemire and Gabriel Hernandez. Gabriel Hernandez, Walda, that is. Yeah, halfway there. So anybody who's waiting for the trade, you will be there soon enough. You will be there soon enough. Page 90. And the issue 4 of the Unbelievable Unteens from the world of Black Hammer is solicited on page 91 for another Jeff Lemire hit. Got another edition of Sin City Volume 3, The Big Fat Kill, solicited this month on page 93, and it has a deluxe oversized slipcase hardcover and portfolio edition to go along with it. That one's $100. The regular edition is $25. Yeah.
Sure, I see $75 worth of value in that stuff you just mentioned, but to each his own.
Indeed. Well, it's got a new Frank Miller cover on the front there, and hey, if you want to spend the extra, then by all means, ladies and gentlemen, by all means. Chris Robertson's going into the Stranger Things world with a winter special with art by Steve Morris on the very next page, page 94. Winter holidays are upon us. The kids of Hawkins are in Phil's spirit as they recall stories from their childhood to teach 11 about Christmas. Ah.
Heartwarming.
Indeed.
Still haven't watched past season 1.
Well, season 2 is a little rough, but I actually really, really enjoyed season 3. I mean, season 2 has its moments. It's just not nearly as good as the rest of it, in my honest opinion.
I'm just waiting for another DVD release in a VHS mock-up case.
I can understand why, because that was super awesome when they did it.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't think it sold that well in Target.
That's a shame. Page 93, Hugo and Eisner Award winner LaGuardia solicited a hardcover edition of that. So if you've been waiting to read it, you can now read it in a deluxe hardcover edition for only $30. And that's on page 96. Heard great things about it, have not checked it out myself, and I think it's definitely well worth your time if you do want to check it out. What else have we for Dark Horse? A lot of stuff mid-run here. Page 103, Parasomnia Volume 1, for all you Cullen Bunn fans. That collects the 4-issue miniseries of Parasomnia, if you're waiting on it.
Art by Andrea Muti, which is also something to recommend it.
Most definitely, most definitely. And I think, oh, you know what? Actually, let's go ahead and mention this because he's our friend and we like him.
We should, yeah.
Page 106, Jenny Zero, trade paperback, Dave Dwanch, Brockton McKinney, as previously mentioned on Comic Geek Speak by Dwanch himself when he guested on a previews episode, for that matter. This is the full trade paperback collecting issues 1 through 4 of Jenny Zero, and buy it, baby. Buy.
Yep, it's about the hard-drinking black sheep daughter of an elite monster fighter from Japan. And she has a mysterious connection to some of the monsters she fights, which leads to a fun twist by the end of the first issue. So you gotta read it to find out what it is.
Yes, indeed. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. What do I see here? Oh, it's the EC Archives. That's why it has a forward by George Lucas. I was wondering why that was the case, but all right, there we go.
Yep, I'm still convinced that he got the idea for the Death Star from an old Captain Marvel comic from the early 50s. And the fact that he's getting an intro to, 50s EC science fiction stories lends credence to that.
That would not surprise me in the slightest. Well, what will surprise me is that we're done with Dark Horse. So onward to DC at this point, correct? Or do we do IDW first?
Out of force of habit, we tend to jump straight to where DC would have been in the good old days when it was still a part of the main book.
Indeed. All right.
Time will be now, so let's
make the magic happen. And we begin with Batman One Dark Knight, number 1, written and drawn by one of the best artists in comics, Jock. Issue 1 of 3 of this one. It's oversized, Prestige Plus, and introducing a new character, EMP, into the Batman universe. From high above the sweltering summer streets of Gotham, Batman planned to escort the GCPD as the dangerous metahuman supervillain known as EMP was transferred from a holding cell to his permanent home at Blackgate Prison. His electrical powers posed a threat, but the situation was in hand until it wasn't. Enough said. And I'm sure this is going to be absolutely gorgeous from the pages they show alone. Oh, I'm so in here. This looks amazing.
Take note, folks, it is a Black Label publication, so don't hand it to the kiddies.
Mm-hmm. But one of the more beautifully rendered versions of Gotham City that I've ever seen, right there on that splash page on page 3. Oof. It has personality. It has its own feel to it. Loving it.
Yes, we'll just see what he's able to do with it during the parts of the book when the entire city is in utter darkness.
Indeed.
He'll still find a way to make it look good, I'm sure.
Oh, of course. But of course. On page 4, we get the end of Fear State in Batman, and then we move on from there.
And they're already foreshadowing the next thing called Shadows of the Bat. That's
a
few pages hence.
There's always a next thing. I do appreciate the return of Secret Files as a thing that DC's been doing more often. And this is Batman Secret Files: The Gardener on page 7. All about Poison Ivy and others, but James Tynion IV and art by Christian Ward.
Mm-hmm. Of that trippy Odyssey series from Image a couple of years ago.
Indeed.
Yeah, and this delves into the origin of a new character that's been introduced to the backstory of Poison Ivy, a lady named the Gardener.
Well, I mean, I guess where there's ivy, there's gardens, I guess.
Yeah. Therein lies the theme.
Indeed. And I will yet again point out the gorgeous cover for Nightwing, because every single one of them is great. I want a collection. I will definitely buy them if they are to happen. And we also get not just Nightwing in this. We get Tim Drake. We get Spoiler. And we get Cassie. So it's all there, baby. It's all there.
A buy for you, then, I take it?
Yeah, I'll certainly. If not a buy, then definitely a DC Infinite. But I will. I need to catch myself up on this Nightwing series, because it's had, not only has it had interesting looking covers, but each solicitation I read for it sounds pretty damn cool, and that seems to be the case here as well. Tom Taylor on the writing and Robbie Rodriguez on the artwork, with the gorgeous cover by Bruno Redondo.
Mm-hmm. Coming to Dark Horse in a hardcover coffee table book about 10 years from now.
Sounds about right. Page 11, Robins #1 by the one and only Tim Seeley. Art and cover by Baldemar Rivas.
And it's got all the Robins, including Stephanie Brown in her Spoiler costume, I'm happy to see.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the hook here in this 6-issue miniseries is that a mysterious female character appears, claiming to have been the original Robin, and she's out to prove that Batman should never have trained any of the others.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's either some super retconning, somebody from an alternate reality, or a lie. So we shall see.
I'm putting a chip on Carrie Kelly.
Ooh, okay, all right, that would be interesting, because we've yet to really see her in the main DC universe, have we?
She had a cameo just as a civilian. I don't even remember in what book, but I do remember that Carrie Kelly showed up.
Okay.
It's just kind of her path crossed Batman's briefly. They didn't even look at each other or talk to each other, but she was there. So there is a Carrie Kelly in this iteration of the DC universe, but she has not yet been Robin as far as anybody knows.
Got it. Also of note, Damian back in his original costume. So I'm wondering if that's just a stylistic choice for the cover, or whether or not that'll be the case in the series. And it was recently confirmed in this post-52, whatever you want to call it, universe, that Stephanie Brown was indeed a Robin. It was a line in a more recent issue of, I believe, the actual Robin series, where they 100% confirmed that, and that made me very happy.
Yeah, me too. Because for a while there, in the early New 52 going, I think they were kind of glossing over that, but
Yep.
A lot of things have been reintroduced to continuity as time has worn on.
Yes, indeed. Now, I am going to put on my best Jamie D when I say these words of bye, bye, bye on page 13. Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen, Robin and Batman #1. Damn. That's all I have to say about that. Prestige format, 3 issues. This is going to look pretty on my shelf, my friend.
And it appears to be telling a Robin Year One kind of story here, but as only these creators can bring it to us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I noticed that the early Dick Grayson Robin doesn't wear short shorts in this miniseries.
Yeah, I think they established that in the reboot that he never had the bird shorts. That it's always kind of been like the Tim Drake black pants instead. To say the least, I'm not exactly upset.
Oh, and look, it's 2 issues in the same month.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I really like how unique and different this Robin costume is. Like it has touches of Tim's costume, but it's also its own thing. And it makes me wonder if it's, just the proto suit that eventually becomes the one that we more know, or something similar to it, or if this is just going to be established as what Dick wore back then, or it could just entirely be out of continuity, which is also possible. So
yeah, it's not only possible but likely, I'd say.
Exactly. Yep.
Interesting to note that the mask shows it kind of anticipates the Nightwing mask more than the Robin mask ever has before.
Good point. Yeah, with the extra points on there.
Yeah, good point about the points.
Indeed. Can't get enough of that artwork. Beautiful.
All right. Now here we go on page 16. I don't often splurge for DC's big extra-sized $10 jobbies here. But this is a Gotham City Villains Anniversary Giant.
Mm-hmm.
It's 96 pages for $9. And it's telling us here in the copy that it's an anniversary year for a whole bunch of different Bat villains who first appeared in different years, ending in the #1. So we got the Scarecrow, Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul and Talia, the Mad Hatter, Killer Moth, and the original Red Hood. And there's going to be stories featuring all of these people apparently in here, including, and this is a real humdinger, it's a story of the Penguin written by a man who played the Penguin at one point and who also is no stranger to filmmaking and screenwriting himself, Danny DeVito.
Mm-hmm.
The great DeVito. So I would love to see what kind of story comes waddling out of his fevered mind.
It's funny too. I just watched L.A. Confidential for the first time earlier this week. Speaking of Mr. DeVito.
Now, did he contribute to the script for that, or was he just in it?
I think he was just in it, but one of his best roles. Honestly, he plays a like a sleazy like TMZ-esque. Newspaper man for I think the name of the newspaper is Hush, if I remember correctly.
Liberty Gossip Monger. Gotcha.
Yep, exactly. And that since the whole thing takes place in L.A., he's basically paying off cops to help him get pictures of celebrities in compromising positions.
Good family sleaze.
But of course, yep.
And it's not only he writing this, but also Philip Kennedy Johnson, Josh Williamson, G. Willow Wilson, and others. Art by Dan Mora. Let's see, Kyrie Randolph, Jill Thompson of Scary Godmother, Christian Ward, the aforementioned, Gabriel Walta, and others.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few interesting-looking variant covers, too.
Yeah, no, this looks like it's going to be something special. And Again, I'm not a fan of the Giants either, mostly for the giant price, but this is warranting it for me. This looks like it's going to be great. Boy, oh boy, those alternates, including a DeVito Penguin variant that looks really nice.
By Frank Quitely, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a Penguin and Catwoman sketches by Dan Mora directly next to it.
Mm-hmm. It was Grant Morrison's collaborator on those Klaus comics.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the very next set of pages. Page 18, Dark Knights of Steel #1. Tom Taylor, one of the hottest writers in comics, I feel like, and Yasmin Putri. An entire medieval world will forever change when a spaceship crash lands from a doomed planet. Monarchs will die, kingdoms will rise, and what seemed to be the end of the world for many was only the beginning. Where is the Elseworlds logo?
Because I was just wondering the same thing. You are absolutely right. That's just what this is. It's an Elseworlds in everything but name.
Exactly. Which is disappointing because, Marvel just brought What If back. And they're doing with What If what DC was doing with Elseworlds. It's not just single issues. Their entire story arcs. Like that's what Chip Zdarsky's symbiote book at Marvel was. It was under the What If imprint, and it was 5 issues of story. So why they are not using the Elseworlds logo here boggles my mind.
It's a missed branding opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, they thanks to that storyline running through the Arrowverse series a couple of years ago, the Elseworlds name is back in the public consciousness. They might as well be using it.
In fact, also wasn't one of the worlds that they discovered in this new reality called Elseworld, if I remember correctly. I know like when the reality reset after the last big crisis-y event, I'm pretty sure one of them is literally an Earth called Elseworld, but I could be wrong. Either way, it's a missed opportunity. It makes me sad inside. Still, though, looks like a really cool concept, and I will read it after all 12 issues are out. I'm not paying the single for this. Or I'll read it on Infinite because I don't see myself going month by month on a book like this, even though it looks very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm coming more and more around to your way of thinking on 12-issue series like this, Ian. After a hard time I had hunting up the different issues of Tom King's Strange Adventures, which just recently concluded. I decided I was going to trade weight on his Supergirl thing and also his Rorschach thing, and I'll probably do the same thing for Dark Knights of Steel.
Fair enough. Once again, well-rendered artwork. Very cool concepts, and I really do hope it does well. I think that alternate realities are what DC does strongest at times, and just give me the Elseworlds. Went all pants with that one. I imagine there were moments like that at the Phillies game last night, but that's
yeah. Just in between the moments of soul-crushing despair. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Honestly, Ian, I think you would probably win the contest between which one of us saw the worst game of baseball.
Between my God.
last and the night before. But it's the two most painful experiences, I believe, a baseball fan can have at the stadium. A blowout, which is what you saw, and the low-scoring shutout, which is what we saw. We basically got half an inning of baseball in which the visiting team managed to get 2 lucky runs in the first inning, and then nothing for either team the rest of the night, and we just sat there sinking slowly, deeper and deeper into the suicidal depression.
Fun for the whole family.
Hey!
Yeah. One of
At least there were plenty of cheap hot dogs.
Oh, yeah. One of the most boring games of baseball I ever watched, actually, was at a Phillies game. It wasn't the fault of the Phillies. It was just the fact that it was a nothing game for like 7 innings. And mind you, one of the pitchers was pitching a no-hitter for a while, too. But it was just so dull because nothing happened. Mm-hmm. And then eventually a couple of runs got scored in the last 2, and it actually became an adventure. But we had to get there first. I mean, geez, oof. And I'm a fan of slow baseball. This was slow.
Yeah, you have my permission to blame at least half of that on the Phillies.
Fair enough. And yeah, Yankees losing 11-1, not my favorite thing.
I'm completely sympathize.
Uh-huh.
Here's a thing that I'll be buying for sure.
Yes, indeed.
It's on page 21. It's called Justice League Incarnate. And this is that fun team of inter-Earth Yeah, there needs to be a better adjective for that, but it's a group of characters gleaned from across Earths in the multiverse. They meet in I can't even remember what they call it, but it used to be the Monitor's satellite, and they monitor the entire multiverse for threats on an interuniversal scale. And they've been used several times. Grant Morrison has done a lot of stuff with them, and now Josh Williamson, after using them in the recent Infinite Frontier miniseries, he's spinning them out into this new miniseries in which they're the stars. The art is by Andre Bresson, and it features characters like looks like the Flashpoint Batman and President Superman and Captain Carrot and Aquawoman of Earth 11 and Wangina the Thunderer and the Flash, not Wally, but from Wally's Earth, but it's the Flash from the new Superman version of the Chinese Justice League. And also Mary Marvel, I would assume, from Earth 5, but
Probably.
not necessarily so. And they're going to battle Darkseid, and they're also going to team up with a brand new character called Dr. Multiverse from Earth 8.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what Earth 8 is in the current multiverse, but I know that in an earlier multiverse, that is where the 90s legacy characters came from. That's where, Kyle Rayner would have been Green Lantern, Helena Bertinelli would have been Huntress, and Breach would have been the Earth 8 Captain Atom.
Yeah.
All established all the way back in Infinite Crisis.
Yep, I remember that very well because I wish I'd gotten some stories on Earth 8 back in the day, but I had not. And yeah, this I don't know where they're going with this Dr. Multiverse character, but I'm definitely in. I loved Exiles back in the day, and this has some real Exiles vibes to it. Just with Justice League characters, and I think they do a good job of universe spanning here and doing a nice variety of characters all along the way.
Yes, I do agree. And from what I've seen flipping through Infinite Frontier, it was great fun. Joshua Williamson is doing what he can to take what's been spit out by various creators lately as far as revamping the multiverse and the cosmology of the DC universe. A little bit from Scott Snyder, a little bit from Jeff Johns. He's trying to weave it all into a coherent whole. And here he's got 5 more issues of space in which to do that and also tell a good story, which I have no doubt that he will.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the very next page. Stephanie Phillips, Wonder Woman Evolution, #1. Art and cover by Mike Hawthorne. Whisked away from Earth by a distant cosmic entity, Wonder Woman is forced to navigate a series of perilous challenges that push her to the brink, both mentally and physically. At stake is the fate of all humanity, with the alien entities casting Diana as Earth's proxy for a trial judging humankind's worthiness to exist in the universe.
No pressure, Diana.
None whatsoever. Epic stakes going on here. Absolutely love the Diana design they're going with the oversized helm and the shield and what have you. And yeah, this could be good stuff. Page 22 for that one. It's issue 1 of 8. So this will be a miniseries.
And here's another one of those 80-page giants that I'm less sure I'll find room for in my budget this month, but it's tempting. It's a winter special. They're calling it "'Tis the Season to be Freezin'." I wonder if that's a working title. They're not calling it the holiday special or anything like that. But it's on sale in mid-December, and it focuses on the ice and cold-powered characters of the DCU, with including deep cuts such as the Blue Snowman, who was a 1940s foe of Wonder Woman, and Minister Blizzard, who was an early 60s, I think, foe of Wonder Woman. With creative talent such as Paul Dini, Alan Burnett, Bobby Moynihan, and our old friend Rich Bernatovich of Sentinels.
Nice.
Nice to see his byline on something from one of the big two, and with art by people who are less well-known. But yeah, I do like the central premise. I like some of the characters involved, and I would like to support Rich, so I'm kind of giving this a maybe for now, as far as whether I'll buy it or not.
I can't help myself. Every time I see his name, I have to say, Bobby Moynihan. I have to go all pardo with it.
Right.
All right, over to page 24. Batman Superman Authority Special #1. Following Mongols' brazen attack on Earth, Superman's world has been turned upside down. Conflict between Atlantis and the surface world, the discovery of an immensely powerful new element, dead refugees with mysterious ties to Krypton, and expulsion from the Justice League. When Superman reforms the experimental anti-establishment authority to join in liberating War World, Batman comes to them with a request. Join him for one unorthodox off-the-books mission first, one he could never ask the Justice League to be a part of, and one he doesn't expect everyone to come back from. This is a gray-templed Superman, I want to point out.
Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't mentioned that.
Yeah. And part of me, I really like, what are we doing here? Because this is now like the second or third Batman or Superman Authority thing that's come out in the last couple of months. The last one was out of continuity. I'm assuming this one's out of continuity too, because I can't see where it would fit in unless it's the far future.
Well, it's actually spinning right out of the current storyline in Action Comics, which does involve Mongol and Warlord. So this is kind of like an interlude of sorts. And it's giving Philip Kennedy Johnson a little extra space to develop the narrative because DC's only letting him have one monthly series to tell stories about the greatest superhero ever created, Action Comics. And
got it.
What the hell, DC?
I know. Oh, well, I really want to know about the Gray Temples. Like what happened in that either led to Superman aging, or did he depower slightly? Like, what's happening here? I'll have to get to it at some point and figure this all out, because I know there's a reason why he left Earth. And why Jonathan took over, and maybe this has to do with it. So you got me, DC. I'll read it. Plus, I like the crew here. Like we've got female Steel, we've got
Natasha Irons.
Yep, and a whole bunch of other characters thrown in there that aren't necessarily just Authority characters.
Oh yeah, the one lighting the cigarette is almost certainly Manchester Black.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Good stuff. Page 24.
Now, I'm noticing DC is kind of backloading a lot of annuals here at the very end of November.
Yeah, I guess they're literally going with the term annual and being like, let's end the year with it rather than anything else. And I mean that's fair. But this is concluding the Ghostmaker saga. Like, this is something that's been running in the Batman books for a while now. I believe specifically Detective, and now here we are concluding it in an annual, which makes me wonder one of two things: either they were running behind, or they just had no other place to put it. So decisions, but it's James Tynion, it's Ricardo Lopez Ortiz, and concluding a saga that's been, again, running for quite some time in the books, pretty much ever since Tynion took over the main Batman title. Page 25. Any interest in the Joker annual?
Yes, primarily because of who's providing the art. It's Francesco Francavilla, who is drawing the Joker. It's kind of a Commissioner Gordon Year One story, featuring his daughter in the Batgirl costume and, of course, the title character, the Joker. Plus, it's co-written by the aforementioned James Tynion IV and Matthew Rosenberg.
Yep. Page 26, and an excellent variant cover there as well by Dan Hipp. I like Joker in a sweater.
And it's quite a pin collection he's got there.
Yep. All right, I'm skipping most of the rest of these annuals just because even if I do find them interesting, I don't think they're really anything I'm going to immediately buy. But I will mention at least the cover that Mitch Gerads threw out for Wonder Woman 2021 Annual Number 1, page 29. That is an inspirational image right there. That is beautiful.
Yep, a little bit of Norman Rockwell thrown in for good measure.
Absolutely. All right, moving forward here. New Mr. Miracle series on page 33. And this is, I guess, So Scott Free wants nothing more than to leave Apocalypse for planet Earth, and he knows exactly how to do it. But his plan never involved falling in love with the head of the female Furies, Big Barda. But this is just a straight up origin story or alternate take on Mr. Miracle here. Varian Johnson, art and cover by Daniel Isles on page 33. And then on the very next page, the collection of Rorschach, which Mr. Eberly will be discussing in full, I'm sure, very, very shortly.
Hardcover, more's the pity.
Yep, unfortunately. Strange Adventures, also hardcover, page 35.
And now the rest of the stuff from DC, where I cherry pick most of the stuff that I'm most interested in.
Yep, indeed. How about page 36, Batman 89, number 4. And we get Robin.
And that's what Burton versus Robin would have looked like, huh?
Yep. Yes, indeed. And I think I know why it's a further mask, because maybe he doesn't want people to know that he's black. I don't know, because if they're going with the original version of Robin, that was originally gonna be played by one of the Wayans brothers, if I remember correctly.
Really?
Yeah, to the point where he was cast and everything, if I remember, and they just never went with it because Tim Burton left after the second movie, and it didn't go anywhere from there. I'm gonna look this up to see exactly which one it was, but yeah, they could very well be going there with this. Sam Hamm and Joe Quinones doing even more. Yep. Marlon Wayans got paid $100,000 for Batman Returns and not being in it. Because the original treatment for Batman Returns included Robin, and they had cast him to play Robin. Go figure.
Interesting untold tale of Hollywood.
Yep, you got it. What say we on the rest of it all here? Anything pop out at you?
Well, if something does, I'll let you know.
You ready? Let's see. We'll go with another one of the Harley Quinn animated series books, issue 3 of that. A reminder, T. Franklin is writing it, Max Sarin on artwork, and watch the Harley Quinn animated series because it's hilarious. Enough said. That's on page 39. Not sure if it's still also running on Sci-Fi, but it was for a little while there.
It was late on Sunday nights.
Yep.
Yeah. Justice League Infinity there, numbers 5 and 6 at the bottom of page 40. That's apparently J.M. DeMatteis and James Tucker and artist Ethan Beavers are taking this version of the animated Justice League to parallel Earths, because they go to Earth X, they meet the Freedom Fighters. Looks like there's a team up there with President Superman, and it looks like General Zod in the background.
I'm all for that. I mean, they visited alternate realities once or twice before, but not quite in this nature.
Top of page 43. Oh no, wait, I'm on the wrong page here. Top of page 41. There we go. Looney Tunes, number 263.
There we go.
A meeting that I always thought should have taken place in the actual cartoons, and I'm sure it would have if the classic Looney Tunes string of shorts had gone on much longer. It's Wile E. Coyote meeting his near clone Ralph the Wolf. They start in parallel series of shorts, the much better known, of course, being Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, and then there was also Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog. And here the two of them meet, commiserate, and decide to trade opponents for a while, with Ralph trying to net the Roadrunner, and Wile E. trying to snatch Sam's sheep right out from under his nose. I love the concept. It's written by Derek Friedolfs, art by Dave Alvarez, and a cover by both of those gentlemen. It's a classic premise that I'm sure would have had a place in the cartoons at some point if somebody had actually gotten around to doing it. And the cover price is still only $2.99.
And I didn't even know Ralph Wolf existed. So I'm glad that this comic exists to enlighten me a little bit.
Yeah, they didn't make nearly as many of those as they did Coyote and Roadrunner, but yeah, the idea was the two of them showed up every morning. They literally punched a punch clock. They said, "Morning, Sam. Morning, Ralph." And then once the whistle blew, suddenly they were mortal enemies, and the sheepdog would beat the crap out of the wolf when he tried to steal the sheep. And then at the end of the day, the whistle would blow again, and suddenly they'd become work buddies again, and they'd clock out and go head down to the bar.
You know, there's a literal light bulb going off on top of me right now, because the minute you said the morning Sam, morning Ralph, then I remembered it all from there. So
Boomerang, it's all coming back to you.
Oh man, excellent. On page 42, again, I think we mentioned issue 1 just for the name, but Refrigerator Full of Heads #2. I'm not even going to tell you more about it. It's just called Refrigerator Full of Heads. That's all you need to know. Superman 78 issue 4 on page 43. We got the Bottled City of Kandor in the Superman movie universe.
Mm-hmm. That would have been a fun thing to see those filmmakers play with.
Yeah, sure would have.
Yep. Gotta say, though, Wilfredo Torres' artwork, having seen the first issue, really does not impress me very much.
That's a shame. That's a shame. If only they'd gotten Brad Walker for the interiors then, because I like what he's doing here.
Yep, it is a nice cover.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving down the page a little bit here. Dr. Fate arrives to whisk the Flash away in the Flash 776. And it's a two-dimensional causeway called the In-Between, filled with demonic forces. Now it's up to you, the reader, to help the Scarlet Speedster make his way through the dangerous dimension towards his final adventure and the beginning of a brand new adventure. I have no idea what that means.
My life depends on it. Yeah, and speaking of great covers, look at Doctor Strange literally pulling the veil of reality aside there. That's a great cover image.
Slip of the tongue there, sir. That's Dr. Fate, not Dr. Strange.
Oh, maybe it's Dr. Strange Fate.
Yes.
I do apologize. I absolutely know the difference, but yes, Dr. Fate.
Yes, indeed. Yep. And hey, maybe it is Dr. Strange Fate, now that you mention it. And the Batman and Scooby-Doo mysteries right next to it. My oh my, I love that image of the Scooby Gang and Batman there on the Joker roller coaster with Harley getting ready to hit him with a mallet.
Still a great read month after month, and it's still $2.99 an issue.
Excellent. This is issue 8 of 12 of that Batman and Scooby-Doo mysteries. All right, and I think I'm on to trades here. And start off with Batman to Cape Crusader Volume 6. New collection of 90s Batman tales includes the Return of Scarface, featuring one of DC's most vindictive villains made famous in the animated series, and the first appearance of the Gotham Gargoyle. And this is stories by Alan Grant, Doug Mensch, John Wagner, and art by Jim Aparo, Norm Breyfogle, and more on page 45. We got a book 2 of Crisis on Multiple Earths. Now, this has been done many a time before. I'm assuming it's the same books, just different cover and different and different edition this time around on page 6.
Collected differently. Like instead of like 7 different volumes of Crisis on Multiple Earths in shorter trades, they've rebound them into 3 longer trades.
Got it.
So this is number 2 of 3 of these larger trades. This one's 424 pages. Yep. And yep, that is definitely an adaptation of the cover of the Superman Captain Marvel fight from the cover of Justice League. I don't remember the issue number. I'm sorry, but it's part of the Crisis on Earth S. You can see heroes from Earth S, Earth 2, and Earth 1 cheering in the back. And that's King Kull the Beast Man clutch a chunk of red kryptonite on the spire of the Rock of Eternity in the background.
Yep. And it's one of the issues that's collected in this edition. So you figure it out. You pick it up and find out for us. But we did mention it on our one of our previous spotlights on Captain Marvel. So right. I mentioned there.
Spotlight on Shazam in the Bronze Age. So
yep.
And there is a deluxe edition of the Flintstones maxi series that came a couple of years back. Written by Mark Russell, who's gone on to do big things since then. Art by Steve Pugh and Rick Leonardi. Collects all 12 issues of that offbeat satirical series, which got a lot of good buzz at the time it was being released. And also the Booster Gold, the Flintstones special from that series of DC Hanna-Barbera team-up specials that DC did for no particular reason a little while ago.
Nice.
So, yep, good stuff there.
I think I have volume 1, which was issues 1 through 6 sitting on a shelf somewhere, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was that very, very funny, good stuff. And then, of all things, Gen 13 being collected. Yeah, I haven't seen a Gen 13 collection, and I can't tell you how long, but they're redoing a collection of Brandon Choi stories with art by Jim Lee, J. Scott Campbell, Alex Gardner, and plenty more. Collects Gen 13 Volume 1, issues 0 through 5, and then Volume 2, 0 through 5, and pages from Wildstorm Universe Sourcebook number 1. That's not on sale until the new year, by the way, so just to keep that in mind. That Flintstones Deluxe that you mentioned isn't actually on sale until February.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they do to advance solicit some of the collections a little bit.
Yep.
Speaking of release dates, though, Ian, how long has DC been releasing their new comics on Tuesdays?
Pretty much ever since they left Diamond. Yeah, that's been it's been the case almost since then. I think they made the transition from Wednesday to Tuesday shortly after that occurred. And it still is the case. So, I mean, it used to be the case back in the day where, not every comic would come out on a Wednesday. Sometimes it would be a Tuesday. Sometimes it would be a Wednesday. Some books would even come out on Thursdays. But now with the split from Diamond and doing their own thing via Penguin, they're coming out on Tuesdays.
Wow. All this time, I never noticed. Pants asked me about that at the ballpark last night, and I was like, I didn't know that was even happening. I can't tell you any more about it.
Yeah. I mean, considering that it was only a day earlier, like, honestly, I don't even think a lot of fans noticed because they would just go on Wednesday like normal and then pick up the comics.
That's exactly why I didn't notice.
Well, it gives the shops an extra day to have stuff on the shelves, I guess. Solicitation for on page 48, Superman Red and Blue, the full collection. We mentioned tons of the issues, terrific writers, terrific artists. Mark Waid, Judd Winnick doing one of his first DC stories in quite some time, I'll point out. Art by amazing artists like Steve Lieber and Duncan Rouleau and Christian Ward, Manipul, Quinones, Mark Buckingham, so many more. Bound to be an excellent collection to have on your shelf on page 48.
Yep, I know there's at least one Bizarro story in there, and as soon as it's out in softcover, I'm definitely buying it.
There you go. Yep. And that is the end of DC. The previews, that is. They're still coming out with comics.
Yeah, let's not hasten the inevitable here.
Yep. But let's move on to IDW, shall we?
And they're leading with a Sonic the Hedgehog project on page 114 called the Imposter Syndrome. And it certainly is a syndrome because it's spreading like one. I had my little mini rant last month about the spelling of that particular word. I won't waste too much of your time here, folks, but I'm really disappointed that not one but two major publisher of comic books have included a very questionable variant spelling of a well-known word, imposter, in the title of a high-profile release in the same month. I mean, there are certain alterations or developments in the English language I'm willing to tolerate or even embrace, and others I'm just not. And folks, the word imposter should never contain the letter E. All right?
Man, I feel like they did this just for us. But yes, I completely agree with you on that one. And I will continue to call it imposter every single time I see it now.
Thank you for your support, Ian.
You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. Honestly, looking at the rest of IDW, this is a very light month for me for IDW. But I'll point out, for your sake, of course, the My Little Pony Generations #2 of 5 with the crossover of the ponies on page 120.
Yep, that is still happening.
Yep, and then volume 7 of the My Little Pony Omnibus on the very next page, 121.
Yep, collecting issues 79 through 88 of the Pony Ongoing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we get some Star Wars things. I would mention on page 123 there, the Star Wars Adventure Annual number 2021, because it has a story written by Chip Zdarsky, and with some help on both writing and artwork by Jason Liu. Was a Lando Calrissian on Bespin story. And the lead feature, written by Kevin Scott with art by Ariana Florian, appears to feature Jackson, the Leppy, the rabbit man from the old Star Wars Marvel series from the 70s and 80s, and also those cute little bunny critters running around, those are Hoojibs, and they also appeared in that old Marvel series. So,
wow,
digging into some classic material here for this annual.
Oh, most definitely the case, yeah, and Zdarsky on Star Wars, like, all right, you've sold me, IDW, well done. Issue 2 of the Mirror War on page 124, with another gorgeous cover by our good friend J.K. Woodward. And like I said, it's a light month for IDW because I think that's about it for me.
Yep, same here.
All right, in that case, Marvel, baby, Marvel.
Yep, not such a light month over there.
No, it is not. And yeah, so about that Hulk guy, he's back after a month because it just ended. But now he's just Hulk. He's not immortal anymore. He's just Hulk.
Yep. And that might be literal. We haven't read Immortal Hulk number 50 yet. We don't know what the upshot of that is. Yeah. But maybe he can die now. It would be nice since, that was explored as thoroughly and as masterfully as it could be by the old creative team. And it would be nice if we reintroduce some drama and tension to the Hulk's life by letting him not be immortal for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we'll see what writer Donnie Cates and artist Ryan Otley can do.
And I mean, what a team! I mean, they've done before, and they will do again. Otley, an old friend of Comic Geek Speak, and watching his art evolve and mature over the years has been a delight. And I can't wait to see what he does on the Hulk.
First arc is called Mad Scientist, so I'm guessing Banner is going to step into the spotlight for a bit.
Yep. One person whose variant cover you will probably not see, and I'm not going to bother to get into why on this because it's a previews episode, is Joe Bennett, and I'll just say he's no longer associated with Marvel Comics, and I'll leave it at there. But yeah, it's a long story, and I really don't feel like getting into it right now. But he's on the bench, and he's probably going to be for quite some time. So let's just leave it at that.
Yep, it's an ugly and a disappointing story.
Agreed. Let's move over to The Thing, shall we? On page, because it's Marvel, I can't tell, page 8. Here we go. Walter Mosley and Tom Riley start a 6-issue miniseries for the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing. as he brings a signature style to a sweeping saga of Yancey Street's favorite son that will range from the urban sprawl of the back alleys of Manhattan to the farthest reaches of the cosmos itself. It's been a while since we've had a thing single run of any kind outside of Dan Slott's run back in the day.
Yep, which I just started reading this past week.
It's one of my favorites. So good.
It's great. It's a shame it only lasted like 9 issues.
I know, but it did have Thing's bar mitzvah, and I can't wait for you to get to that.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm liking the nice, clean, classic lines of Tom Riley in these few little sample pages they give us.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
This is going to be an old school thing. And I notice the copy down here seems to think that the title of it is going to be The Next Big Thing. I guess somebody somewhere decided that just The Thing was a better, more streamlined title for it.
Maybe the arc is called The Next Big Thing, but the story is called The Thing.
Okay. Fair compromise.
Yep.
But in any event, it's 6 issues. It's by that creative team, and it looks like a good old-fashioned Ben Grimm fun.
Yes, it does. What a revolting development. Page 10. I just saw the trailer for the new Hawkeye series not too long ago. It is Christmas-tastic, and I cannot wait. And Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, number 1 of 5 by Marieke Nijkamp and Enid Balam on artwork. 5-issue miniseries as Kate heads home to New York along with Pizza Dog, and a lot has changed since the last time she's been around.
Yeah, she looks a lot more like Haley Steinfeld than she used to.
I know, what a coincidence, right?
Mind-blowing.
Well, at least on this cover, she doesn't. Like on the alternate cover, she doesn't. But on this cover that they're, or is this the alternate cover? I can't even tell. Let's see.
It says at the bottom it's the variant. So
okay, there we go. Thank you. Yeah, because Marvel does this all the time with me, where they'll put a variant first and then confuse me. But I actually like this cover a lot more. This one's a lot more kinetic and super fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. And here we go with something that I'm probably jumping on the ground floor with. Amazing Spider-Man number 78, the Beyond storyline with Amazing Spider-Man. A whole bunch of great creators on this. And this begins Ben Reilly's second real outing as Spider-Man, putting him against Morbius. It doesn't go well. Issue 78 is Kelly Thompson and Sarah Pichelli. And then 78.Bay. I know they're going beyond here, but still, that's what it says to me. Is Jed McKay and Eleonora Carlini. And we get some Daughters of the Dragon action. Page 13 for that one.
Up against a new villain called Obsidian Star.
Kind of sounds like a soap opera. 79 will be taking on one of the Cravens. I think this is actually one of his sons, because I think the original Craven is currently dead, but I'm not entirely sure about that, because it's hard to keep track.
Thanks to the Jackal, it's hard to be sure who's dead and who isn't anymore.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Cody Ziegler on the writing on this one, and Michael Dowling on artwork. And then issue 80, also Cody Ziegler and Michael Dowling. And then that's it for the month. So you get 4 Spider-Man comics in the month. It's a good thing I have Marvel Unlimited. And then, what a milestone. Page 16, Avengers number 50.
Or 750, depending on which number system you're following.
You got it. You got it. Good for Jason Aaron. Because getting this far along, and yeah, it does commemorate issue 750 as well, but excellent creative team on this. Jason Aaron, Christopher Ryoko on writing, and then the artwork, Aaron Cooter, Carlos Pacheco, Ed McGuinness, Javier Garrone, and Steve McNiven, with a cover by Ed McGuinness himself. Can't get better than that.
Looks like we're going to get a little backstory on the prehistoric Avengers, learning why they came to be in the first place. Behold the most powerful collection of super psychopaths that any Earth has ever seen. The Avengers get some surprising new members, and Ghost Rider goes tripping across the multiverse. A lot of interesting beats in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's an oversized story, so they could do tons. And there's a bonus story. That's where Christopher Ryoko comes in, along with Steve McNiven, featuring Thor. So, yeah, this is one heck of an anniversary issue, I'll tell you that.
Better be for $10.
Yes, indeed. Great artwork. Great artwork on the next couple of pages. And hey, Kazar! Yay! He was dead for a minute.
Yeah, and then he came back with like Earth Father powers or something.
Something like that. He got better. We got a Captain America Iron Man miniseries, Derek Landy on writing, and Angel Unzueta on artwork, with cover by Alex Ross. And 5-issue miniseries here involving Hydra, and along with Iron Man and Captain America. And when both Steve and Tony realize they have a connection to a slippery fugitive, they team up to track her down, only to discover she's not the only person on the board with big plans and sinister motives.
Classic tale of suspense.
Mm-hmm.
Death of Doctor Strange, really? We swear?
Look, he's gonna die for a while. Then he won't. But for now, he's gonna die. Okay, we promise. Till sales warrant in the first issue 1.
Right.
Inferno issue 3 of 4. We are very, very close to the conclusion of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run. And he may have some more after that. He's teasing as well. He has something else at Marvel. But yeah, issue 3 of 4 here of Hickman's conclusion with R.B. Silva as Nimrod strikes on page 27. On page 29, Marvel's Voices, Indigenous Voices, number 1. Featuring a whole bunch of indigenous Marvel characters and creators. So we've got a new Echo series, spinning out of this, as well as Snow Guard's Greatest Hopes and Fears, and a whole bunch more on top of that. I see Forge there on the cover, Danny Moonstar. So bound to be some good storytelling to be found inside. A whole bunch of Darkhold action on the next few pages as well.
Yep, a couple of noteworthy creators there on page 30. Mark Russell writing the Black Bolt one-shot, and Jordi Belair, better known for her coloring, writing the Wasp one-shot.
Mm-hmm. Introducing the Irredeemable Wasp. I don't know how to feel about that.
I feel like I'm not buying it anyway.
Fair enough. Now this is a resolicit, right? Page 33, because I know we talked about John Ridley taking over Black Panther already.
Yeah. It says retailers' previous orders will be canceled. So
that's what I thought. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So page 33. Just listen to previous previews to hear what we had to say about it. It's back and it's happening again. Issue 1 of Black Panther, page 33. Yep. And then on the very next page, 2 things that Chris will be picking up: Defenders issue 4 of 5 with Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez. And then Dark Hawk number 4 of 5, Kyle Higgins and Juanan Ramirez. Teams up with Spider-Man and Captain America. Issue 4 or 5 for Dark Hawk. this new Darkhawk titled Connor Young. Love this Moon Knight cover on page 37. Woof. Shades of old school Spider-Man right there.
It makes me think of Stephen Platt, who used to do Moon Knight for a little bit there in the 90s.
Ah, there you go. I was more thinking it reminded me of Peter holding up all that the
debris.
Weight. Yep, exactly. Yep. Jed McKay on writing and Alessandro Capuccio on the art, and the cover by the one and only Steve McNiven, with a variant cover by Art Adams. Eternals on page 38. Kieran Gillen.
And Asad Ribic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Thanos lording it over his relatives in the Eternals.
Yes, indeed. I see a lot of Infinity gems. Gems?
Thank you. Yep, sure enough, he's got his trademark custom jewelry on there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what he does with it.
Yep. Got issue 7 of the Marvels on page 40 as well. Just finally picked up issue 1 of that, so I'll have to start reading it and see what I think about it. But Busiek on writing and Yildiray Sinar on artwork for the 7th issue of that.
Yep, it hops around and samples broadly from all kinds of unexpected corners of Marvel history. So as only Busiek can, really.
Oh yeah, definitely. And all right, fine. Page 43. X-Force Killshot Anniversary Special #1. Rob Liefeld, writer, along with Chad Bowers. Artwork, Rob Liefeld. And that's all I'll say about that.
Enough said.
If you're a fan, you'll read it. That's it. Page 43. I do see some feet, though, so that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, see, he can learn.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Trial of Magneto continues on page 45. As a Wanda divided cannot stand, but there are many other things she can do. Chaos comes to Krakoa. That sounds foreboding. Leah Williams on the writing on that one. Lucas Wernick on the artwork, page 45. It's a new character on page 47, Dr. Stasis.
That's not one I've heard of before.
Okay, well, Jerry Duggan, enter Dr. Stasis. The X-Men's new nemesis finally makes himself known to them, bringing his creations to bear. Mutants may have conquered death, but their foes are all too living.
It's a great extreme close-up cover there.
Oh, you got it. X-Men Legends concludes the Larry Hama issues of Legends. I love the variant cover by Carrie Andrews that just goes all in 90s. That makes me so happy in all the wrong ways. But I still think I'm probably going to wind up skipping this one because we get the return of Mr. Nicieza with issue 10, which will be solicited next month.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I will jump back on at that very same time.
Excellent. And here's something. Yep, go ahead.
60 years of the FF on pages 50 and 51. It's written and drawn by everyone and their entire families. And 56 pages, $6.99. If you're an FF fan, go ahead and buy it.
Oh, definitely. Although it actually just says writers Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, then it's every artist known to man. So maybe I think this might just be retelling the first issue with as many artists as possible.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, now a bevy of Marvel's finest creators pay tribute to that one page by page. Aha.
Okay.
Yep, you're right. It's the very first issue retold by a whole bunch of different artists. Okay. Plus Fantastic Four Annual number 3. I'm wondering if that's also retold page by page, or if they're just reprinting the original version of the FF Annual number 3.
Yep.
The Wedding of Reed and Sue.
Well, either way, interesting concept for an anniversary issue, just to get as many possible artists in there, just retelling one of the most, important stories ever told in comic books, for the world's greatest comic magazine. So good stuff. And on page 52 here, 52, I started reading Fantastic Four Life Story finally. And boy, oh boy, does it deserve the Life Story moniker, because it is just as good as what Zdarsky did for Spider-Man, just in a very, very different direction. That's obviously Fantastic Four centric. And this is the solicitation for issue 5. And I cannot wait to see where this series is going for its conclusion. We're in the 2000s here. And yeah, it's really, really well done.
Yep. The Life Story treatment, for those who have not heard, is taking well-known characters and telling a theoretical story of what their lives may have been like if they'd aged in real time. Like if they've been introduced in the 60s as the FF were, one issue will be about their lives in the 60s. The next issue will be about them 10 years older in the 70s, and so on through the decades. And as Ian said, this issue, number 5, takes them all the way up through the 2000s.
Yep. I've read the first 3 issues so far. And it's not a spoiler really to say this, but one of the through points is that Galactus is coming. And through the decades, Galactus is coming. So what do you do? Exactly. What do you do when you know a threat like Galactus is coming? And how does that change your life when he still hasn't come?
Yes. And how do you use the half century you have to prepare for it?
Exactly. Yep. So very, 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 very good concept for a Fantastic Four Life Story.
Page 53, fans of Dan Slott's mid-2000s She-Hulk comic, definitely buy Fantastic Four number 38, because that's exactly what it is. It's Dan Slott writing, Francesco Manna on the art, and it's Shulky helping the Fantastic Four out, both in and out of the courtroom against the Frightful Four.
So happy. Great cover by Terry Dodson, too.
Totally.
Yep. And Amazing Fantasy concludes this month, so there will be a trade coming. Page 55, somewhere Chris Eberly is talking about this, so I will talk about it as well. Iron Man number 14, Chris Cantwell, Kafu on art. Behold the birth of Cosmic Iron Man! Oh, man. I got to catch up on this. I really do.
Yeah. Well, Cantwell actually makes like an outer space messiah and leader of men of Stiltman in the most recent arc. He goes some strange places, but some wonderful strange places with longtime Marvel characters.
Oh, yeah. I'm all in on that. And can we talk about the cover here by Adam Hughes on the very next page, page 56 for Black Widow?
Ooh, that is Adam Hughes, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And boy, oh boy, is that pretty.
I feel as if that katana is piercing the paper of the cover and pointing right at your belly button.
Beautiful. Shang-Chi number 6 on page 57. Shang-Chi versus Thor. That's going to be fun.
Yep, just making a tour of the whole Marvel Universe.
Yep. But here's our boy, page 58. It's just for us.
Yep, it's wearing the costume we prefer to see him wear.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that, because this issue is just kind of reprinting some of the Peter David and Chris Cross stuff.
Yep. But great stuff for anybody who hasn't actually read it before. Page 58. I actually owned issue 0 back in the day.
Me too.
Yep. That was a Wizard pack-in comic essentially. And that plus issue 1, 2, and 3 were a great way to start things off after Avengers Forever. And yeah, read it if you haven't. You're gonna love it.
Mm-hmm. Comes highly recommended by 2 out of 2 geeks participating in this podcast.
Exactly. You want another geek's opinion? Too bad. And then page 59, as the last of the Marvels continues, there's no hope for Carol or the Captain Marvel name. There's only imprisonment, and with Carol trapped, who will save her friends? Maybe it's one of the other Captain Marvels. I don't know. We'll see.
If it's Billy Batson, I'll have to track down the other issues of this crossover.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, but a fella can dream.
Exactly. Unless they pull something like what Marvel did back in after Barry Allen died and have Barry Allen be in their comic, but don't actually call him Barry Allen.
Right. What was my name again? Buried Alien?
Oh, man.
Yep, that was heady times. That was Grunwald's Quasar run.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Page 61 starts a new story arc for Donny Cates' Thor, the God of Hammers, starts here. So if you want a jumping on point for Cates' run, this might be it for you. I love that Miles' new costume is basically a cross between the 2 other Scarlet Spider costumes. Like the one that Kane wore and Ben's original costume. Like they pretty much just combined them into one to make his new outfit.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
And it looks good on him too.
It really does, yeah. I dig it a lot. And Chris Allen does a damn good job of drawing it there on the artwork on the cover there by Taryn Clark. That's page 63 for that. Oh, final issue of Daredevil by Zdarsky. So this is the conclusion. We've got both Daredevils there on the cover, so we'll get both Matt and Elektra here on page 65. And yeah, where is this going? That's the question. But this concludes Zdarsky's run. I don't know if there's going to be a new volume with Zdarsky or if it's just going to be a new volume after this, but this concludes the story that he's been telling for 36 issues.
Yeah, one way or another, it's kind of inevitable there'll be another Daredevil #1 soon. Just
of course.
By whom is the real question.
Yep. That is indeed the question. All right. Head down a little bit further here into the Star Wars section and see if there's anything to note there.
Yep, pages 70 and 71, there's a mini-series starting off another Star Wars event called Crimson Reign. And the copy doesn't really tell us that much about what's going to happen in said story, but it's happening.
It's Charles Soule, it's Steve Cummings, and yeah, that's it. That's all you need. And it's Star Wars, that too. But let's focus on the most important Star Wars comic of this entire catalog, shall we? On page 72.
Robed Wookiees, baby.
Star Wars Life Day #1.
Life Day, we're celebrating Life Day at Marvel Comics. You know you want in.
As much B. Arthur as you can fit into a comic book right here, ladies and gentlemen. David Scott, Justina Ireland, Jody Hauser, and Steve Orlando on the writing. Ivan Fiorelli, and more on artwork. Yep. It's Life Day all over again. And let's see how Han and Chewbacca celebrate it.
Yep, totally in on that one.
Oh, man. I think it's onward to trades from here for me. Mm-hmm. Let's start off with a book of Doom on page 80.
And my goodness, that's 1,336 pages of classic Doom stories from all across Marvel history.
You got it. Not on sale until April 2022. So talk about an advanced solicit. Like that's a while from now.
Yeah, giving themselves a lot of lead time on this one.
Yes, they are, but I guess they figure for something this huge, they have to get as many pre-sales as possible to know how much they should make. But yeah, this is exactly what Murd said. From everywhere from issue 5 of Fantastic Four all the way up to Books of Doom issues 1 through 6, and Marvel Double Shot number 2. Astonishing Tales you got in there. You got the entire graphic novel Emperor Doom included in this. 3 issues of Secret Wars. Like, it's Uncanny X-Men all over the map with creators and artists and writers. Oof. Good Doom stuff.
Wow, yeah. And this is the point where I would have told Chris that I just this past week began reading Brubaker's Books of Doom miniseries, and that's where he would have got me out of him.
Yeah, that is a classic. Absolute masterpiece. Agreed. Yep. Like, Murd, I wish I could be you. Reading that for the first time.
I envy the journey. You must tell me what you think. And I will tell him too.
Exactly. See, we don't need others on this show. We could just mime them and or fill in their voices.
Yes, we're a 2-man cast of characters here.
Exactly. Jerry Duggan's Cable on page 84. If you want to know more about the younger version of Cable, which I think is now yet again being replaced by older version of Cable from what I've seen from other solicits. So he was young for a while, but now he's less young.
Yep. He's been up, he's been down, I'm still reading the Fabian Nicieza written Cable Deadpool series, and there was a little bit of Cable de-aging going on there too. So
Yep. Love that run. Love that series so much.
Yep, me too.
Especially when it turned into a Deadpool team up while Cable was dead. Oh man. Page 85 as well. I'm usually a really big fan of Peter David. This was not my favorite run of his, and I'll just be clear about that. I've read other She-Hulk runs that I've preferred much more than this, but it has its ups and it has its downs. It's just it came off of Dan Slott's run, and it was very hard to live up to that. So this is on page 85. Collects She-Hulk 22 to 38, She-Hulk Cosmic Collection, X Factor 33 to 34. Sensational She-Hulk 12, and then She-Hulk Sensational number 1. And I believe this closes out his take on She-Hulk. So if you're interested in reading more about it, it's all there for you. And here we are, ending Immortal Hulk. Is this the last collection, or is there one more after?
It's Apocrypha, it says here. So it's a bunch of random one-shots and things.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so I assume issue 12 will probably be the last of it. I mean, volume 12 will be the last of it.
Right.
Yeah. All right, go figure. I don't know if there's anything else that I would like to call out in trades, but if there is anything on your end, feel free.
Well, on page 100, there's a kind of a companion piece to the Immortal Hulk called Gamma Flight. It was a 5-issue miniseries written by Al Ewing, writer of that Immortal Hulk run, co-written by Crystal Frazier, art by Lan Medina. I did not buy this in single issues, so I think I better be ordering this in trade.
Oh yeah. It's required reading for me. It's got enough Alpha Flight in it, plus it's Al Ewing, so yeah. That's all I need. Ooh, wow. Page 107. Talk about a Thor epic collection. It's got Conway, Mantlo, and Roy Thomas. Thor stories here, penciled by John Buscema, Rick Buckler, Sal Buscema, Arvell Jones, and Keith Pollard. Volume 7 of the epic collections here, collecting 217 to 241 of the original Thor, Marvel Premiere 26, Marvel Treasury Edition number 3, and Giant Size Thor Numero Uno from 1975. And I'm done with Marvel, essentially, so anything else you want to throw out, be my guest.
There's some good Hawkeye stories collected on page 113. You're interested in that character in advance of his upcoming Disney Plus miniseries. So it's got his... Okay, it does have his first appearance from Tales of Suspense, his first miniseries by Mark Gruenwald, some stories from Marvel Team Up and Marvel Tales, Marvel Super Action, etc. It's just a bunch of more or less randomly sampled highlights from Hawkeye's long career as Marvel's own battling bowman.
Yep. And one of the most iconic images, period, of Hawkeye, of him with Ant-Man on the quiver, launching him out. So iconic, it was even included as one of his specials in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where he launches out Ant-Man, and then suddenly he stomps on you as Giant Man, and that's it was beautifully done.
All right, way to go, game makers, for incorporating a bit of the comics history.
You got it.
Yep, and since there's supposed to be a Morbius movie coming out at some point, on page 120, there's a Marvel-verse collection of some of his key appearances, including his first couple from Amazing Spider-Man number 101 and 102.
It's funny, I think they delayed that to next year, the Morbius movie, and yet they moved up Venom 2. So that's coming out in like 2 weeks now.
Yeah, it's October 1st, I think.
Yep. No, I may very well go to the theaters for that.
I'm sure I will. Pants and I were discussing it last night. We're both going.
Nice. Well, I've heard things about what may happen in that movie, and I'll just leave it at that. Things happen and stuff.
Possibly events taking place.
Exactly. All right. For once, I have something dynamite to call out on page 133.
All right, Dynamite, lay it on us.
Dynamite. It's the gem of the month. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, number 1. Stephen Mooney on writing and Jethro Morales on artwork. As a brand new creative team puts a brand new take on Sheena, Queen of the Jungle here. Combines the classic elements of the legendary character along with a modern sensibility that will make it the perfect debut for fans new and old. It's described as Jurassic Park meets Predator meets the Hunger Games. And yeah, I'm intrigued.
All right.
And Christos Gage with a new book that I'm sure is not called MYX because that happened already. This is Nick's number 1 on page 139, and art by Mark Borstel. From the pages of Vampirella and Sacred Six comes Nyx, daughter of a human and the mad god Chaos himself. Nyx's mortal side has been growing stronger, troubling her with all too human emotions. Fortunately, there's still the side of her that transforms into a demon of Hellacious and requires her to feed on the life force of living beings to survive. Christos Gage, you have me interested.
Yep, he's a good writer.
Yes,
I'll tell you what, I'm just entranced by that variant cover B by Rose Besh, that one up in the upper, right there in the upper right of page 139.
Yep.
If she were doing the interiors, I think I would be on board.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely. And looking at the interiors are nothing to sneeze at. They're
they're really not bad.
All right, I think that's it for Dynamite for me.
Yep, I think we've seen the conclusion of Priest's Vampirella, so nothing else to cause us to tarry here in Dynamite. So let's make it go boom, shall we?
Let's make it go boom indeed. As Dynamite has a lot more solicited than they normally do, because it is taking me a long time to scroll through Dynamite. Let's let's get out of here. Here we go. All right, finally, here we go. Getting Dizzy #1 on page 176. Shea Fontana and Celia Moscote. It's a
Appears to
4-issue
be-
miniseries.
Yep, and it looks like it's a roller derby, street fighting fantasy kind of story.
Yep, and from the writers of DC Superhero Girls. And yeah, this looks super fun. Artwork reminds me a bit of Steven Universe. And a new young teen hero there for anybody who's looking for one. Page 176.
Another pretty exciting offering from Boom here on page 180 and 181 regarding the matter of Oswald's body. #1 of a 5-issue miniseries written by Christopher Cantwell. Chris Everly says, illustrated by Luca Casalanguida. And it's a story about, one of the several conspiracy theories swirling around the murder of John Kennedy. That being that something happened to Lee Harvey Oswald's body, that it's not really his body buried in his grave. And a team of quote-unquote useful idiots are put together in this story to go investigate. So it's drawing on real-world events and conspiracy theories that have attached themselves to said events. So a little bit of fantasy intrigue happening there from a writer who definitely knows what he's doing, as he's proved multiple times in the recent months and years. Yeah, this is definitely something for Chris, and I think I'll probably be giving it a try too.
Yeah, no, it sounds fascinating, and only 5 issues here, so we'll get the full story soon enough. And oof, man, that artwork by Luca, ooh, damn. Very, very pretty stuff, and gruesome as well. You know, I'm not really going to mention past it because, I mean, yeah, this is a limited series that's going to delve into the deep origins of the Power Rangers universe on page 184. It's called Power Rangers Universe. It's 1 of 6, written by TBA.
Oh, well, actually, in the print edition, there is a name there. It's Frank Gogol.
Ah, okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So hopefully that is indeed the case, because whenever I see TBA, I worry.
Not a good sign, especially not under written by.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. But you know, it's universe spanning with the Power Rangers on 184. So if anybody who is a fan, and for that matter, the Negative Space Incentive cover by Gonye Montez is awesome. With the Red Ranger there, that's oof, loving it.
Yep, that is striking.
Okay, checking to see if there's anything else that Boom would want from me, and let's go on page 193, the soft cover of The Many Deaths of Lila Starr. This collects issues 1 through 5 of the series. I mentioned it before. It's Ram V on writing and Felipe Andrade on artwork. So first 5 issues here for you on page 193. Only $15 too, so you can probably get it for a decent discount on it wherever you find your comic book discounts. I think that's pretty much all she wrote for Boom for me as we go to the rest of the book. Anything from Ablaze this month? Catch your eye, sir.
I don't think so.
Alrighty. Abrams Comic Arts on page 208, publishing some reference material out of Marvel. Doctor Strange, Book of Vishanti hardcover. It's the entire Book of Vishanti, containing infinite number of potential potent spells, incantations, and lore from fantastic realms. That's pretty damn cool, and good for Abrams Comic Arts for putting it out.
Yep. Written by Marvel Entertainment. Well,
Yep.
And I hope Marvel Entertainment paid close attention to Doctor Strange comic history here, because there's a lot of funny little spells and artifacts and things that the good doctor used over the years. I hope that's what this is going to be, and not just a bunch of pictures and script pages or something from the movie.
Agreed. I certainly hope so, but we shall see. Well, let's look underneath that, as I think this may have been also something that Chris may have potentially pointed out. Fantastic Four #1, panel by panel, the hardcover, also on page 208 there, includes text by Marvel editor Tom Brevoort and historian Mark Evanier. But this is a panel by panel breakdown of the very first issue of the Fantastic Four. We love our footnotes here on CGS, so how could I not bring this up? And Chip Kidd's involved with it, and yeah, it's well worth your time if you're a comic book historian, just to see all the things happening here on again one of the most important issues of comic books of all time, page 208.
Another good way to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the FF.
Definitely the case. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Pick this up and read it side by side with that tribute thing that Marvel's doing, that big jam book with different artists recreating each page of that same issue. Mm-hmm. See how their creative decisions vary from that of the original creators, as highlighted panel by panel in this book.
That is an excellent point, sir. Excellent point. All right, now a quick aside as we get to page 210. And this is completely my decision and also my opinion, and no one on the podcast has to stand by it in any way, shape, or form. However, over the past couple of weeks, there's been some unfortunate news coming out about Action Lab Entertainment and the way that they treat their creators. And this is in no way, the fault of anyone who used to work for Action Lab Entertainment.
Yep, our old friends who gave rise to the company in the first place. None of them are in charge over there anymore.
Exactly. It's more their current doings and their radio silence with creators since the beginning of the pandemic, and oftentimes before that as well. I'd say your best source for finding out more about this, if you do actually want to look further into it, is the Handsome Genius Club podcast. They released 2 episodes on Action Lab very recently. One that came out on September 16th with comic book writer Jared Lujan included. And then there was an earlier episode that's 2 hours long that had Anthony Rutgazer is the host, but it also had Sean Pryor, Jeremy Whitley, John Perez, and Michael Kingston involved with the production of that. And they basically go into the entire tale of the history and what some would call the rise and fall of Action Lab Entertainment. I'm unfortunately deciding that until we can get more information on what's happening there, and that the creators of the comics of Action Lab are actually getting their due and their proper releases, and also not being screwed around with, that I'm just straight up not going to recommend any Action Lab comics for the time being. And again, that's my decision. Nobody else on the show. It's all up to them. But I'd say give the Handsome Genius Club a listen to find out more and decide for yourself how you're going to feel about that. But I don't like doing something like this when it comes to comic companies, but I'm not comfortable with them right now. So gotta be straight up about that.
Yep. I'm sorry that these steps have become necessary, Ian, but I'll back your play here.
Yeah. Yep. And again, plenty of former Action Lab people are well worth your time. Whether it be Dave Dwan, Sean Pryor, Jamal Igle, Jeremy Whitley, they're all fine gentlemen, and they're coming out with great comic books elsewhere, and even still solicited from Action Lab. So support the creators, just don't support the company right now. That's unfortunately the way that I have to put it. All right, meanwhile, back to comic books and recommendations. Paul Tobin has a new book on page 212, Croak, written by and as I said, Paul Tobin, art by Andy McDonald. 7 years ago, an attempt to weaponize dreams resulted in holes being punched through the world we know and into the world of dreams. Nightmarish creatures now stalk the land, sprouting from and killing anyone unlikely enough to dream. The only way to save the world is for certain people to have their dreams come true, which is how Risa Harumi finds herself not only fighting monsters, but forced into finding true love. Monsters in modern dating?
Yes.
It feels like a nightmare either way. I can say when I was reading this solicit for the first time, I was not expecting that to be the direction that it went, and they had me with that. Period.
Yep, that is a Paul Tobin worthy twist. Yeah.
Yep.
Guess what? It's also a romantic comedy.
Yes, it is. And Andy McDonald on artwork, known for his multiple man stuff and I Breathe the Body. Yeah, this looks like very unique and interesting comic books. So give it a go.
Yep, and the title character is a big green monster with the 5-foot mouth. Yeah, that's that's a memorable visual there. Yeah. Yep. I don't think I can resist that. There's some other things coming out through Aftershock right now that I'm afraid I'm going to have to resist because they seem to be getting into the habit of shoving comics into a cardstock cover and charging an extra $1 for them for no other reason than that. Mm-hmm. So for budgetary reasons, I may need to cut back on the number of different Aftershock projects I try. But that one, $4.99 or not, I'm going to have to give it a try.
Fair enough. Croak #1 on page 212. New series by Cullen Bunn on the very next page, set of pages 214 as well. The Heathens. Evil men and women escape from the depths of the eternal abyss. The pirate queen Lady She is sent to retrieve them, but when one of the history's most notorious killers breaks free, even she needs help. Enter the Heathens. She, Lucky Luciano, Bumpy Johnson, Sophia the Golden Hand, and Billy the Kid. From hell they came to met out a justice as dark as their own tormented souls.
From hell, it says. And note the silhouetted top hat behind them. So which vicious killer do you think it is that they're tracking down here, Ian?
I plead the fifth. Oh man, it's that one that everybody always keeps going back to. I think he's British.
Rings a bell.
Yeah. But check it out on page 214. This looks like a good team, right? That's forming here. All right, let's scroll down a bit more here. Out of Aftershock. Although, you know what? I'll mention the trade paperback for Steve Orlando's Project Patron, because once again, I believe we mentioned it in the past, and that's available on page 223. Collects the first 5 issues of Project Patron.
Page 226 from Ahoy Comics. It's a series called My Bad, issue #1 here, by... It's superhero satire by one of the masters of the form, Mark Russell, who has apparently started billing himself as Mark James Russell, I guess to avoid confusion with some other Mark Russell someplace. And the art is by Peter Krause, well known to me from the old Power of Shazam series DC put out in the mid-90s, of which I do expect to be speaking at length at some point on a future Spotlight episode. So, the creators alone, I don't care what direction this superhero spoof of theirs takes, I want to read it. So... there we go. My Bad #1.
Yep. And it's got a monkey reading, holding acid on the cover. So, yeah. And monkeys sell, you know.
Absolutely. It's a proven fact.
It is. Page 236. Star Runner Fallen Star. James Watson, Leo Cordero, and various. 10 years after the death of her adopted parents, teen Aurora Palmer would do anything not to stand out at her new high school. When a sudden surge of hidden telekinetic powers threatens to expose her, she begins a desperate search for her origins before the truth is destroyed forever. So kind of a take on X-Men there with nice high school bent to it as well. On page
Getting
236.
a hint of Alex Mack in there, maybe.
Ah, good call. Good call. Good call.
When in doubt, think of classic Nickelodeon.
Absolutely. Yep. Been on my mind lately with Keenan being nominated for multiple Emmys this past Sunday. How goes the on page 241 the Archie and Friends Christmas Calamity?
Well, I'm always glad to see holiday specials being published by anybody, but I was planning to skip this one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But do Archie and his pals have what it takes to help Santa out of his jolly jam?
If they don't, nobody does.
Exactly.
At least nobody appearing in this issue.
Yep. 241 for that one. And now here we are on page 254. They're certainly evoking something with Knighted _1, and they have my attention with a nice Dark Knight Returns homage for their main cover. Greg Hurwitz and Mark Teixeira. Oof.
It's the story of a hapless city bureaucrat who accidentally kills the Batman analog that protects his city. And then he has to take his place, helped along by this reality's version of Alfred.
That's a awesome premise.
It is.
Yeah, I'm down. This sounds really good.
Yep, same here.
Yep. And Greg Hurwitz has tons of Batman experience himself. And yeah, this is a very, very good team to have on board for it. Page 254. Great variant cover by Deodato, too.
Oh, yeah. I think I actually like that one better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Page 258. Got two things that I'll point out here. Bloody Hell, just for the name. Clay McCormick on writing and art. When a detonation unleashes imprisoned ancient Viking gods with the hellish trenches of World War I, a reluctant infantryman must convince these mythic powers to end the war and prevent Ragnarok. That sounds epic.
Yeah. Teutonic gods abroad upon the battlefields of World War I. Fantasy history there. A graphic novel, 120 pages, $25. All from the mind of Clay McCormick.
Yep, not bad. Out of A Wave Blue World Inc. And then right next to it, Balzer and Bray brings us Faith Greater Heights, a hardcover by Julie Murphy. An exciting conclusion of the two-book origin of fan-favorite comic character Faith, a fierce plus-size superhero. Faith Herbert can finally admit that she's not a regular teen. Thankfully, her two best friends, Matt and Chess, are now in on the superhero secret. After the chaos of her first semester, Faith just wants to end her senior year on a normal note. This is the second of the Faith hardcovers here. So track down number one.
If you enjoyed her adventures published by Valiant Comics a while ago, maybe you'll like this series of prose novels about her teenage adventures.
Indeed. Yep. All right. Scrolling down further here. This feels like a meteor month for previews for me because the past two have been kind of so-so. I feel like I'm a lot more things are calling out to me this month than in previous.
Mm-hmm. That the publishers are beginning their Christmas run out here.
Oh, definitely. And speaking of publishers that I enjoy, Black Mask on page 266 has Hecate's Will, probably. Yolanda Zanfordino with Eliza Ramboli included as well. Written and illustrated by Yolanda, so the cover is just second cover is by Eliza. Hecate's Will is the story of a legendary New York City graffiti artist who has decided to retire and abandon her mission of changing the world through art. But before she quits, she's going to create one final street art experience, a graffiti scavenger hunt through the streets of Manhattan that will lead her fans to a final message of artistic testament. That sounds very, very cool. I like scavenger hunts in my comics.
Yes, it is an added element of fun, isn't it?
It really is. Yep. Once again, page 266 for that one. Jeff Smith on page 270.
Yep, he's bringing Tukey back.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Old graphic novel for you. So anyone who's a fan of Jeff Smith or a fan of his Tukey work in the past, you get a brand new graphic novel, volume 1 for you on page 270.
Yep, it's the adventure of an early human being across a fun-filled, fear-fraught prehistoric landscape. And this time, it seems that he and his fellow hominids are getting into a battle with another more primitive pre-human race, the Habeline, who are anti-fire and attack anyone they catch using it. So yeah, it's kind of a culture war. Certain parallels can be drawn to things that are going on in the world today,
to say the least. Yep.
And it's 160 pages in glorious black and white, and it looks like it's number 1 of a series of 6 such Tukey graphic novels that Mr. Smith will be bringing us.
Excellent news. Excellent. Page 280, Stephanie Phillips has Octobrania with Love. David Bowie was going to make a superhero movie about her. Billy Idol has a tattoo of her. And now 50 years since her debut celebrate the return of one of the most enigmatic comic book characters that you've never heard of. For centuries, a mortal warrior woman Octobrania has been the champion of the oppressed, leading a ragtag group of freedom fighters. It's probably Octobriana, travels the dimension highways in her Wonder Machine, disrupting authoritarian regimes, overturning tyrants. You get the idea. But yeah, this I've never heard of Octobriana before, and now I have.
I think there might have been a passing mention or visual reference to it in that David Bowie graphic biography that I read a while ago. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing here. She even has a battle with Baba Yaga, who is a figure from Russian folklore, a witch who travels around on a house on chicken legs.
Well then.
Something that I thought was kind of interesting on page 281, a little ways back. It's a graphic novel from the creator of the webcomic Yes, I'm Hot in This, about the experiences of a modern Muslim woman in the United States. The creator is called Huda Fahmy, and the main character of this thing is also named Huda, and it's entitled Who the F Are You? And it's about a teenage Muslim girl's struggle for identity and acceptance. She moves with her parents to Dearborn, Michigan, and suddenly she goes from being a member of a small clique of Muslim teenagers in her old town to being part of a much larger population, with a much more complex social ecosystem, and suddenly she doesn't know where to fit in. Like, there's more than one kind of Muslim teenager here. She has to contend with Muslim fashionistas and Muslim gamers and so forth, and meanwhile, she doesn't really belong to any such clique, and she has to navigate this whole thing for herself. It sounds so poignant and winsome and engaging, and it's kind of a humorous look at the struggle for identity of the modern American Muslim.
Very cool, and I love that title. That's my type of pun right there. Oh boy. That was out of Dial Books, by the way, on 281. Before I scroll too far, if you have anything before about 300, that's where I was before.
Nope. Scroll away, Ian. I'll join up with you there.
Sounds good to me. Okay. What I will go with, let's see, where was that? Thought I had something. There we are. Okay. Page 301. Taking Turns, story from HIV/AIDS Care Unit 371. This is by M.K. Zerwick. It's about back in 1994, at the height of the AIDS epidemic in the United States. She took her first nursing job at Illinois Masonic Medical Center in Chicago. as part of the caregiving staff of HIV/AIDS Care Unit 371. Shining example of excellence in the treatment and care of patients, Unit 371 was a community for thousands of patients and families affected by HIV and AIDS, and the people who cared for them. And this graphic novel depicts the life and death in that ward, the ways the unit affected and informed those who passed through it, and how many look back on their time there today. Very, very interesting. And yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some excellent stories told inside. That's on page 301. Page 306, for any of you history nerds, not that we know of any, The History of Science Fiction, a graphic novel adventure by Javier Dolo, with art and cover by oh God, you're killing me here, Jibril Morissette Pham. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. For the first time in illustrated form, it's a comprehensive history of science fiction, tracing its origins and in fascinating detail charts history from its beginnings as a schlock genre to its respected status today. That sounds awesome.
If the sample page is any indication, it's going to be well illustrated, but maybe a little bit wooden in the telling. Looks like a well-illustrated essay, basically, or a scholarly tract about the history of science fiction.
Gotcha. Although on other pages where we get to actual like comic book pages, it does look a little bit more interesting. So maybe I feel like it's going to be interspersed between the two, maybe a little bit. Well, either way, if you want a history of science fiction, it's right there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Page 317, Antoine Charillon, The Wall, out of Magnetic Press. Another post-apocalyptic story here, but this one's about a young repairman named Solal, who does what he can to protect his sister Ava, who suffers from a respiratory illness. When their medication runs out, they have only one hope: to cross the wall, a gigantic, impregnable enclosed guarded by monstrous robots. What lies behind the wall is not what anyone would expect. Now this sounds Mad Max.
Yeah.
But very
Looks
interesting. Yeah, great visuals.
Mad Max, and I'd say a little bit of Logan's Run too, in that their frame of reference for the world in which they live is limited, and they don't know what exists beyond its boundaries, but they're about to find out.
Good point. Well, you can find out more on page 317. Yeah, I got to call it out. 321, Marvel Press. Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man's Very Strange Day hardcover. It's a Spider-Man picture book. It's a film tie-in. It's for kids. It's adorable.
It really is, yeah.
Calliope Glass and Andrew Kolb are the writer and artist behind it, and job well done, Marvel Press. This is this is a good call. Page 321. I forget if we've mentioned Petrograd on the previews before it was just in softcover, but
I doubt we have, because I don't remember it, but I'm certainly noticing it now. Looks like a rollicking good Rasputin story.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, written by Philip Gelat with art by Tyler Crook.
On page 324, set in 1916. Like the look of it. Excellent trade dress on the cover there.
Oh, love it.
Yep. Very, very cool. And the artwork on the following pages is absolutely gorgeous. All right, good job, Oni. 324 and 325 for that one. This month's Rick and Morty comic, Corporate Assets, #1, written by James Asmus.
Hey.
Yeah. Illustrated by Jarrett Williams as well on page 330. Rick and Morty corporate assets #1, when Morty stupidly agrees to all the legal terms of a new face-altering GIF or GIF, depending on your preference, app. He signs his life away to an unheard-of company that immediately seizes control of him for their own purposes. Then when Morty screws up Rick's rescue effort, the company steals Rick's portal gun and strands our heroes in an unexplored dimension, leaving them free to strip mine every aspect of Rick's inventions and the Smiths family lives for evil, capitalist purposes.
Only $3.99.
Oh man, yeah. No, this sounds awesome. This sounds like it would actually make a great episode of the show.
Well, the showrunners do appreciate the work that's being done on these comics. I saw somewhere Justin Harmon's office has a whole bunch of framed copies of the Oni comic on the wall.
I believe that's Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon, by the way. I think you combined them into the same person. In the Amalgam universe, however, they're Justin Harmon.
Yep, that is my fault entirely.
It's all right. It's getting late. But I did just watch the Rick and Morty season finale 3 or 4 days ago, and the amazing anime opening credits to that final episode were delightful.
Yeah, I guess I'll get around to watching that season eventually.
All you need to know, Rick decides to replace Morty with 2 crows. Rick and 2 crows. Rick and 2 crows for life.
Are they talking crows or just plain old
crows? That's it. Talking crows do play into it, but at first, just 2 crows. Page 334 out of Prestel. Marth Rothko, the story of his life. Mark Rothko's work is among the most recognizable in modern art history. I love his stuff. Huge color field works enjoy enormous popularity for their luminosity, moodiness, and immersive qualities. But he didn't always paint in bold, simple swaths of color. And this traces Rothko's entire life from his boyhood immigration from Russia to America to his suicide in 1970. I'm actually really interested in this. That's completely up my alley. Page 334. I actually got to see the Rothko that was graffitied, that was on display at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. And they actually painstakingly restored it. They had to do an entire process where they went down to almost the molecular level of the paint in order to find the perfect color to remove this graffiti that somebody did on one of Rothko's most famous pieces. And they were able to do it. It took them 3 years, but they were able to restore it. And it's amazing to see what it looks like now, because you barely even know that anything happened.
Wow.
Yep. Once again, that's on page 334 out of Prestel. All right, you got anything before tomorrow's?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, in that case.
Actually, yeah, of course, no sooner do I say that, but on page 344, visually interesting looking series from Silver Sprocket. It's called Roadshow, written and drawn by James the Stanton. And the cover dress is reminiscent of 80s Marvel, and the interiors are reminiscent of some of the weirdest, most nightmarish things that Adult Swim has been doing lately, particularly Super Jail.
Oh boy.
And it just kind of looks like a surrealistic take on late 60s, early 70s animation. It's a guy engaging in a mysterious and lethal road race through a landscape of rock monsters, lizard hordes, sharks, and truck-driving birds.
Good for an acid trip.
Yep. Precisely.
Yep. All right, that's Roadshow number 1 on 344.
And Source Point looks like it's trying to make itself more of a presence in the previews catalog here.
Mm-hmm.
On page 349, we've got a new strange horror anthology called Tales from the Dead Astronaut. They actually got a pull quote from Mark Waid talking this thing up.
Wow.
It's a bunch of really strange, surreal, and occasionally frightening stories that are being presented as just what drifts through the brain of a slowly decaying astronaut as he floats in space. That's the framing device.
Oh, wow.
Written by Jonathan Thompson, art by Jorge Luis Caboto.
Cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then right underneath it is actually Trash and Can It, Disposable Heroes, which just sounds hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's those little cartoon critters that they made up during the 80s to encourage school kids to recycle, except now they're action heroes.
Fun for the whole family.
Yes. Environmentally responsible fun for the whole family.
Exactly. Yep. Source Point Press, man. Good month for them.
Mm-hmm. They have arrived.
They have. And I have almost arrived at tomorrow's, and here I am. And it's a good month for Alter Ego, as it's black superheroes and others in U.S. comic books. An awesome overview by comics historian Barry Pearl from Vuda to Black Panther and beyond, plus an in-depth interview with Dr. William Foster III, author of Looking for a Face Like Mine, showcasing Baker, Graham, McDuffie, Fitzgerald, Hollingsworth, Cohen, Green, Harriman, Jones, Orms, Stelfreeze, Moreau, Stoner, et al., plus FCA, Mike T. Tilbert, and more, and a cover by some schlub named Kirby. On page 361 there. And yeah, that's excellent. And then Comic Book Creator this month, issue 27, it's all Paul Gulacy, including Masters of Kung Fu, Saber, James Bond 007, Batman Prey, and Catwoman. And yeah, that's a lot to be celebrated there by Mr. Gulacy.
Yep, that'll be tempting for Chris, I'm sure.
Definitely. Yep. Got a featured item on the very next page, 362. John Severin, two-fisted comic book artist. From a start in 1947 at the Simon and Kirby shop, John Severin co-created the legendary Western strip American Eagle and became an EC Comics mainstay, working with Harvey Kurtzman and Mad and Two-Fisted Tales. And throughout his storied career, he freelanced for virtually every major publisher, remained a workhorse up till his final Dark Horse miniseries at age 89. This is written by Greg Biga and Eisner Award winner John B. Cook, with an introduction by Howard Chaykin, and gives the biography of his life.
All right. Well, it's a figure in comics history that could use a little more attention.
Most definitely, yeah. 368, if you're waiting for the Ninjak trade, here it is. Book 1 of Jeff Parker's Ninjak, available for you. This is an advanced solicit, mind you, not out till December. So it's not nearly as advanced as the other advanced solicits that were all the way in April.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, if you want issues 1 through 4 of Ninjak, here it is for you on page 368.
Yep. Art by Javier Pulido.
Yep. Of Robin Year 1, which I love.
All right, some new fare from Vault Comics. On page 371, I'm going to mention Fox and Hare, written by John Sway, artist Stacy Lee. It's the story of a woman who works as a computer coder for some shady characters, who goes on the run from her ex-employers in this futuristic Blade Runner type city that she occupies, somewhere in futuristic Mega Asia, and she has to hire the most notorious mercenaries in the city, Fox and Hare, to protect her.
Yeah, I love the character designs for this. That has me the most interested about this, outside of in general the trade dress and the cover itself are very pleasing to the eye.
But yep, you're right. Those are some fine character designs. Nice streamlined animal masks and the cyber ninja accoutrements.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, moving forward here. Looking to see if there's anything else before manga for me, but I don't think so. I think it's manga time, unless you got anything before that.
Nope, let's manga it up.
Okie dokie. There's my Mob Psycho ad. You didn't let me down. You didn't let me down, previews. All right, here we go.
Let's head to page 395, why don't we?
Sure.
Where we can find, solicited, the One Piece cookbook. Featuring over 40 piratical recipes for life on the high seas.
Oh my God, this is great. One of my favorite things are when they come out with recipe books for fantasy properties, and this is just beautiful. I've read through the Game of Thrones cookbook. It has some delicious recipes in it. My friends and I would, I think for about 4 years straight, we actually were building our own bowl of brown. So we would make it and then freeze it and then make other things to put in it and then make it and then freeze it and rinse and repeat.
12 years, did you say?
Not 12 years. No. If it was 12 years, that would be ridiculous. It was about 4 or 5.
Still, though, anything that it takes more than a couple of weeks to make really is
an
epic undertaking.
Exactly. Yep. It's like, we would have whatever we had, make sure there were leftovers, and then that goes in next year's stew.
Wow.
Page 402, Cheeky Brat, Volume 1. Basketball club manager Yuki has a secret. She's in love with the team captain. But when Naruse, her cheeky kawaii, discovers her big secret, she's in a tight spot. Just how long is she going to keep teasing her about it? Stupid, pretty playboy. Yes, I did just read that entirely for the name Cheeky Brat. Page 402. I'm trying to find one more here and then call it a day. How did two men manage to do 2.5 hours of previews? We found a way.
Yeah, you'd think it would take us less time with only 2 voices, but
surprise!
Yeah,
right. All right, let's go with. Here we are.
I'm going to shout out something on page 420, if I may.
Yes, you can.
Okay, it's a hardcover classic collection of a manga that even I've heard of, Lupin III: Greatest Heights, by manga master Monkey Punch. A hardcover collection of some of the finest Lupin III manga ever published. Master Thief Lupin III, the charming grandson of Arsène Lupin, has been stealing treasures and hearts since Monkey Punch's original manga series in the 60s. Adapted into anime a couple of different times. The capers and adventures of Lupin III, along with his trusted sidekicks and hot-in-pursuit rivals, have turned him into one of the most beloved manga characters of all time. This special collection of Monkey Punch's original manga, published in Japan as a tribute to his legacy after his passing in 2019, includes some of the greatest Lupin III manga tales pulled from years of his influential work.
Oof.
Large trim hardcover, 300 pages worth.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously one of the one of the oldest manga characters, and there's a new anime every couple of years, and here's a bunch from his history. So well done, Murd. Well done. I'll go a little less classic on that very same page as my final call out. A Life Turned Upside Down. My Dad's an Alcoholic. The graphic novel. A moving autobiographical manga about her father's alcoholism that inspired a critically acclaimed live-action film. Mariko Kakuchi tells the painful story of her father's alcoholism and her own journey through guilt to understanding her father's illness. She rejects the common belief that family members can and should be forgiven for anything they do, no matter how much harm they cause. This powerful self-contained autobiographical manga began as a web series that went viral and inspired a critically acclaimed 2019 film in Japan.
That is heavier than many of the mangas we're seeing on these pages.
Indeed, it's a lot heavier than I Am a Cat Barista Volume 1, to say the least.
Yes. Not, yes. If any of you out there who's of the opinion that all manga are the same, think again.
Oh yeah, as I've said many a time before, just like there's every single different variety of American comic out there, same can definitely be said for manga. You just got to find it, and that's right there for you. Yep. But there's also I Am a Cat Barista Volume 1. So let's just point that out.
It's there if you need it.
Did you want a manga all about a barista who happens to also be a cat?
Not that I was aware of, but
page 420 has it for you, baby. That's it. And on that note, I believe Bolt shot, unless you have any toys you'd like to point out.
I have only one. I'm surprised I've been finding so many things in the swag side of the book these last few months. But page 85 on the flip side of the catalog, there is a collection of Kellogg's classic style mascot ultra detail vinyl figurines.
Oh my God.
So you got good old fashioned Tony the Tiger and Toucan Sam, and other lesser remembered mascots such as Cornelius Rooster of Cornflakes, King Combo of a cereal I think was called Combos, but I'm not sure. Honey the Bee from Honey Smacks, and Sugar Pop Pete, a porcupine who used to shill for Sugar Pops before it was known as Corn Pops.
They're great.
They're $16.99 a piece.
I really like the design on these though. Those are super cute.
They really are, but at 3.5 inches tall, I'm not sure $17 a piece is especially reasonable. So
yeah,
I'll just let them stay where they are. But it's cool to note that such things are being made.
Oh, absolutely. And it's cool for us to know that our Bolt has officially been shot.
Yes, sir.
Yep. But a job well done all around, Murd, for us soldiering on and taking the task of previews to heart and getting it out to you, the listeners.
Yep. The CGS standard has been carried forward, and we may sleep the sleep of the just tonight in its wake.
Indeed. And speaking of sleeping the just, you, the listeners, you're the best. Patreon.com/comicgeekspeak. Once again, thank you for so much support that you've given since we've launched it. And here's to many more months of the show and many more months of support. So there we are with that.
Amen.
Alrighty. Yep. And also of note, you know what? Actually, before we wrap up, just a note that Sir Eberly was actually recently on a podcast, and I want to make sure that I bring that up for everybody before we wrap up. Ryan Dose does a Thor podcast that Chris Eberly was recently on, and for any of you who want to check that out, you can do so. And I believe there were at least 3 different episodes that Chris joined him on. Very, very recently released. It's called Across the Bifrost, and it's available on iTunes and Spotify. So if you want to check out Chris talking Thor, classic Thor at that, then that's your place for it. across the Bifrost. All right, now we can wrap things up once I actually find the gosh darn music. Let's go ahead and make this happen.
Standing by.
Excellent. Standing by because a certain somebody is in the Shane seat.
Yep, and I was actually had the foresight to pull up the info to be read.
Excellent.
Schedule.
All right, in that case, end credits for you.
If you'd like to send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd rather leave a voicemail, you can call 267-702-6642. Let us hear your voice. You can like us on Facebook and also join our Comic Geek Speak supergroup there, where you can talk back about all our various episodes, engage your fellow CGS listeners in conversation on a variety of topics, and you can even find a link to the aforementioned appearances by Chris Eberly on the Thor podcast Across the Bifrost. It's right there for you. You can also follow us on Twitter, where our handle is @ComicGeekSpeak. You can join our original forum, The Comic Forums, at thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com, where you can also talk back about our episodes and have conversations with your fellow CGS listeners about a variety of stuff. We extend our usual vote of thanks to all of you who have donated to us monetarily over the years on whatever platform and whatever amount you've been able to. We truly appreciate it, and the show would not be what it is today without your assistance. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
When the only prop you have on hand is a bop it, you go with it. Oh boy. Yeah. Who? Oh yeah, sure. It's just the two of us. It'll go nice and quick.
This would be about the only prop I could have worked with. A lamp monster.
Nice.